Hello and welcome. I hope you're safe and well. In today's exciting episode, I make a super easy Chanel style jacket out of this pink and white tweed from Linton Tweeds in the UK. It's very cute.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
So I bought this tweed, 2-3 years ago. Quite a long time ago. It's one of the last tweeds I bought, and I was like, oh, I've got to use up these tweeds before I buy another one. So now I'm finally using it. It's mostly pink and white, but it's also got these neon colours, this neon yarn on the edge of each of the sort of check squares, and I'm using some neon netting, stiff netting, for the backing fabric, because tweed is kind of saggy and baggy. It looks beautiful, but it's very saggy and baggy. So I've cut out the back piece you cut on the fold. Well, you can cut left and right, but I prefer to take the seam allowance out and cut it on the fold. And then, so there's one back piece, and I cut that out in the netting, and then I cut it out in the tweed. And I've also got two front pieces, the left and the right. Now, the actual pattern has a flap on the inside front as well, but I've just simplified the pattern. I made it cropped at the back, and this is me just showing you that I stitched the two layers together, but I just did it by hand, so you can't actually see it. It just means that the tweed looks beautiful and it doesn't sag, so you can't actually see the backing fabric, but it's a structural layer. It's sort of like, ivy growing up over a fence. You can't see the fence, but it's there to hold up the ivy and make it look really pretty, or a climber. And yeah, so, and this is me, like, I've stitched the back to the tweed. Now I did the two fronts to the tweed. So here you go, you can actually see the stitches, but they're just really, really simple, just running stitch along there. And yeah, and now normally the next thing that you do is machine sew all the three pieces together, but I've just taken a break from all that hand sewing to decide how I'm going to bead it. So these are some small flowers I have. I actually want to use them on a Dior style, vintage Dior style jacket, but I got them out just in case, and this is the one that I think I want to do. So originally I was just going to do these randomly over the top and the bottom, like collar and cuff style beading, but I think I'll do it all over the jacket. They don't look as cute, evenly spaced as I thought they would. So then I decided to get out some other beads as well. I've got some sort of transparent red triangle beads, or cone-shaped beads, and I've also got these little sort of flower-shaped sequins in pale pink. And yeah, I think I'm going to mix them all. It doesn't look the greatest the way it is, but because sequins never really look fantastic until you bead them, because the beads hold them in place a certain way, and they look much more animated. So here we go. I've got a pin through them, and you can sort of see where I'm going with this. But yeah, so each little square will have either a big sequin, sort of off center, or a couple of little ones in like a little bouquet, or a couple of the triangles. The triangles are plastic, so they're not going to be too heavy either. So yeah, it's just going to be a mix of things. So then I cleared away the beads and the sequins, and I'm save them for later. Now it is finally time to sew everything together. But before normally what you do is you put the big back piece down and then the two front pieces right sides together, and you pin them at the shoulders, like the whole of the sleeve, starting from the shoulder to the cuff, and then you sew them together. But first I machine sewed the seam line along the underarms, the cuffs, and the hemline. and then I just turned that up because I'm going to half made the jacket, then I'm going to bead it, then I'm going to finish sewing the jacket together, then I'm going to make the lining, which is just the same 3 pieces sewn together and then hand stitched in. So yeah, it does take longer to do it this way, but it's just so much easier to bead it when the jacket is all splayed out like butterflied, like, you know, a butterfly chicken. So yeah, so then I went along and I pinned all the seam allowance back for the neckline, the cuffs, the under the sleeve, the undersleeve, the sides, and the hemline as well. So it took forever, and hand stitched it all down. And now it's done, and then I just pinned it together so you can see what the final jacket will look like. I mean, once I finish doing the beading, I'm obviously going to stitch this down, but just for now I've used tiny little safety pins. Oh, these were still sitting on the sideboard. So yeah, I don't really like either of these bolero jackets. The 1950 Simplicity one is a little bit too short for me. I do think on the navy t-shirt, that vintage style floral print looks good, and the Halloween one is fun, but and this floral one on the end here, on the right end, it was looking way too baggy, and I think I'll just crop it a little bit so that you can actually see, because it ends sort of like at my broadest point. If it ends too far down, then it just makes me look like a big triangle, not in a good way. So yeah, I'm going to crop the jacket a little bit more, and I'm going to make it out of the daisy fabric. I wanted to make the Burda 6123 out of the daisy fabric, but there's not quite enough of the daisy fabric, because this Burda 6123, the jacket that I'm making now, the sleeves are really quite long, so you need just a tiny bit more, just because the pieces are so big and awkward. And this is me showing you the lovely detail. So now I have to take these off, and I'll put the jacket that I just made on this mannequin. And this is me just showing you again the I've also changed the neckline in the daisy one. Like, I've already cut out the pieces for the daisy one, but I haven't made it yet. And the cuffs, I'm going to make them slightly shorter so that I don't have to turn them up, because I'm going to bead the daisy one. I was going to bead it with these sequins that are aqua, but I just remembered I've got daisy, like little flower sequins. Oh, and I changed the back as well. I sort of cut out this bit in the middle that's a super baggy, so it's just slightly more fitted than it was. Anyway, so yeah, now I'm really taking these down. Oh, and I have a Vogue pattern that's sort of halfway between those 2 bolero ones, so I might do that one next. Anyway, here's the jacket. Isn't it cute? It's so adorable. And how I changed this one was the pink and white one is I changed the neckline so it's deeper, and like half an inch deeper. It's not very much. You can just sew it with a different line on your sewing machine. You don't have to alter the pattern. I also cropped it a little bit shorter just because I'm short-waisted. And then on the back, I curved and cropped the hemline as well. I think it looks really cute in this fabric. I wasn't sure whether the bold check would work out because of the way it's, like, you're not doing separate sleeves, so you can't pattern match across the whole thing. You sort of have to just go with where the pattern falls on a dolman sleeve, because the pieces are so big. And yeah, I've got some pins on the back because of the type of beading I'm going to do, so it's not exactly sitting right at the moment, and it sort of looks a bit sort of weird and bulky just because it's a super lightweight tweed. Most people wouldn't use a tweed this lightweight, but I'm going to do beading on it so I know how to use it properly. But yeah, it's a very, very thin tweed. And the silk lining that I'm using is going to be white with a couple of this sort of really light pattern on it in neon colours. So yeah, because this tweed is so thin, it's basically a little bit see-through. So yeah, that's probably the silk I'm going to use on it. And that's again why I use the neon coloured netting for the lining. It's why I got out my Valentino Rockstud handbag in the neon green. It's so extra, that bag. Yeah, I have one Valentino handbag, and of course it's in neon green. So that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Now, what I am going to do next is carefully undo these little brass safety pins, and then I'm going to get out my sequins and beads, and I'm going to do all the beading on this, or embellishment work, and with these beautiful sequins and beads. And then also I'm going to do, you know, my Kandinsky jacket, how it had the sort of drips of beads. I'm going to do some red drips of beads on the right, sort of between the elbow and the wrist on this. And then I've also got this like wood diamond shaped bead. I might stitch one of those to the cuff on the left side. Anyway, yes, I've got lots of beading to do. So thanks again for watching. I hope you've been inspired to make a tweed jacket of your own. This is a really simple pattern, even if you just use it straight out of the packet. It's a really good pattern and produces a beautiful jacket. It's not as fitted as the Vogue 7975, but it's definitely a great starter jacket if you want to make your own Chanel style tweed jacket. That punkish jacket that I made, well, I didn't make the jacket earlier this month. I did the pin design on it earlier this month. That's a Vogue 7975 using a vintage Linton Tweed, which is absolutely adorable. I also made these two from the Vogue 7975 pattern years ago, well, more than a decade ago. And yeah, I've had the same, I bought the Vogue 7975 pattern in 2009. I've had the same pattern, and I just like trace out the bits that are the pattern pieces that I need on tracing paper, make the modifications to, because, you know, so that it fits me perfectly. And then, yeah, so I've kept the same original pattern, and I've made like well over 100 jackets now from it. And I think this is like the 6th jacket I've made from the 5th or 6th one that I've made from the Burda 6123. It's also a really good pattern. Some people get offended when I recommend a simple pattern. I really like simple designs because it shows off the print, or like if you're making a dress, simple dress, it shows off the print of the fabric beautifully. Or if you're making a Chanel style jacket, it shows off the tweed and the beading just to perfection. I've been making my own jackets for 15 years now, and I really, really like the simple designs. So yeah, each their own, but I definitely recommend this one. Happy sewing!